All right, welcome back. So finally, it's time to learn how to create your own brushes which can create those strands of hair. Now, this can be done in a lot of ways. I'm going to be showing you 3 different ways, okay? So first of all, the best thing that you can do if you really want to do this very quickly is simply change one property on your existing brush, okay? Like for example, if I go to the brush tool, okay? So here, and once this brush tool comes, remember this, we are so used to picking our first brush by default, the general soft round brush that we always use. Even this can directly be just converted into something that can create a strand. So you're going to decrease the size, and the main thing that you have to change here is, now this is going to be an important point, okay? Because I want to talk about this point. What the setting that you have to change is going to differ according to whether, remember I mentioned this before, if you're using a tablet or you're using a mouse. I'm going to be showing you how to do this for both of them, and you're going to realize that it works much better if you have a tablet like a Wacom tab. I'm going to be talking about that also. So first, let me show you how it looks on the tab, okay, because that's where it's actually going to look better. So what you have to do is, once you've just selected your normal brush, okay, I'm just going to activate a new layer so that whenever I paint, it's on a new layer. And all you have to do is, next to this brush icon, you see this icon here, right? That is the brush properties window, okay, which looks something like this. You can also open this from here, brush settings, okay, so you can do this. Now here, you just don't worry about any of these settings. This all might look confusing. All you have to change here is, go to this thing that says transfer. Transfer means when you start painting. So think of it like this, that Photoshop is, instead of using the word painting, the Photoshop, they always like to use technical terms, right? So they're kind of using transfer, like you're transferring something onto the canvas. And how do you transfer? What is the opacity of the brush when you transfer this or when you paint this? How do you want to control that? Okay, usually by default, this is set to off. That means whatever opacity we set here, whatever flow we set here, that kind of determines how things are working. But just see this. If once I click on transfer and under opacity jitter, okay, and in this then under control, if I just go and click on this option which says pen pressure, and if you are working with a Wacom tab which has a stylus or a pen like I'm doing right now, what's going to happen is, what this means is, let me just zoom in. Okay, this means that depending on how hard or how softly I press my pen on the Wacom tab, it's gonna basically reduce or increase the opacity in a similar way. If you press it softer, just say, if I'm barely touch my pen on the Wacom tab, just see the effect, okay? We are on black color right now. You can change the color also, but just see. Even lighter than this, I'm just barely touching my tab. Can you see? Just see this. It's literally like if you had an actual pencil in your hand and you're sketching, similar to that. If I press it hard, just see, it's going to make it like this. And what this does is, okay, so if I zoom in, it's just basically going to help me create, so if I even decrease the size of this brush to something very small, and just see if I lightly go about things like this. Okay? This is perhaps the fastest way to create strands of hair. And this is completely under your control, like you're drawing this. Not like those earlier things that we did before. You can even go hard, you can even go soft. Usually, you will be just lightly painting this. I'm not doing a good job here. I'm just trying to show you. Of course, you will be putting this under the head there, right? So it's going to kind of go behind like this. Okay, so you can even sample the colors, like you can hit Alt, because now it's like a normal brush. It's the same brush, okay? You can change the color. You can sample something close to that and start drawing. Something close to this and start drawing. And this will be great to hide those imperfections like we saw before. Okay, so this is one way that you just take the existing brush and change the transfer to pen pressure. But what if you don't have a tab? Okay, in that case, what you can do is you can again open up the properties window. Instead of how it is controlled, instead of using pen pressure, now that you don't have a tab, you can click, if you have a mouse, which most of the people have, you can click on fade. Now this is not going to be that good, okay? So if I click on fade, you can actually see it shows you a preview of how things are going to work. Under fade, what happens is, when you click your mouse and you draw this, it's going to start off with a normal opacity, okay? And it's just going to fade it towards the end. And you can even change this value here, like right now set to 200, to make it longer, shorter, you can change this value, okay? And now just see, right now I'm using my mouse, okay? So let's just quickly delete this layer that we used before. Okay, so I'm just going to do this on a new layer. And now just see, so if I sample some color here, this time I just click my mouse and it's just going to fade it towards the end. But it's still not going to be as good as the tap, okay? So can you see, tries to fade it. So at least it's like better than just painting the hair. But still, you know, you can see, it doesn't look too bad, but it's just not, you know, accurate enough. It's not good enough. This is the reason why once you do get advanced into Photoshop, it's definitely a good idea to invest in a tab. And seriously, invest, I should not even use that word. I literally use the cheapest Wacom tab available, and to get started off, that is fine. Like for example, the tab that I'm using called Wacom One, it's cost me $3,500 rupees, which is like literally right now, you can say it's $50 to $60. That's it. A lot of people unnecessarily buy very expensive tablets. You don't have to do that when you're starting out. Okay? So I'll probably even give you the link to the one that I use. If you want, you can get your hands on it if it's available on Amazon or anywhere in your country, okay? But point is, you can get away with the cheap tab at least when you're starting out, but it's definitely going to be much better than using the mouse. And in fact, the first 1 or 2 days might be slightly uncomfortable because we are so used to using the mouse, but trust me when I say this, okay? Once you start using Photoshop with a tablet, okay, you will never touch the mouse again when you're using Photoshop. It's a complete game changer. There's no comparison also. So this is something 100%, if you're a serious editor, you should get your hands on a tablet, okay? Now, this was one way of creating a brush, but what if you don't want to draw the strands every time, like an individual strand? So is there a way by which we can draw multiple strands together? Well, there is. Let's also see that, how to do that. So in order to create that multiple strand brush, all you have to do is you have to create a brush yourself. This will not be an existing brush, and it's very, very easy to create your own brush in Photoshop. All you have to do is just see this. You have to go to File, okay, we're going to click on New. Basically what we need is, you just need to create multiple dots, and that is we're going to turn that into a brush, okay? So just, open up like a new document. We're creating a new document from scratch. Like give it slightly a big enough width right now. It doesn't matter too much. Let's say 1000 pixels by height 1000 pixels, okay? And just click on Create. So you're going to get like a new document which is blank. It's just white, and all you have to do is, okay, take your brush, okay? So I'm going to take the normal soft round brush that we have, okay? For now, I'm just going to turn it off. Okay, it already turns this off. So it's going to, because I'm working on a new document, it kind of removes any changes that you did to those properties, okay? But I'll tell you how to save a brush also, so that you don't have to lose that and go to the properties again and again. But right now, first of all, let's see how to create this. So all you have to do here is just create a few dots of different variations so that the strands will be of different length. We're going to keep that randomness. So select black color first. We just draw something like this. Doesn't even have to be too accurate. Just draw something, okay? It's good practice, though not 100% compulsory, to kind of add slightly different shades of black, so that when we change the color, there's going to be lighter color, darker color. Again, trying to make it random, okay? So maybe one dot like this, okay? Maybe go back to black. Let's say we'll add 5 dots like this and change the size also. So maybe this one is going to be slightly bigger, okay? Then let's say, let's go to light again and click OK. This time let's create a few small dots like this, okay, like this. So these are basically, once we start moving them, think of it like this. This is going to flow and form those strands, okay? That's why just making it random. And you can kind of give it a slight space, okay, like this. So something like this is fine. And once you're done, just like crop this, okay? Just crop this together. And now what you have to do is, we just have to turn this into a brush. And this is very easy, literally just with one click. You just have to go to Edit, okay? You're going to see this option which says Define Brush Preset. If I click on this, I can just name this brush. So let's say we call it Custom Hair Strand, okay? Brush. You can give it any name, okay? You're going to click on OK and just see. Can you see the change in cursor? It automatically converts this into the brush. So if we go back to our image now, okay, just see if I decrease the size here, if I start drawing, it's going to draw this. But right now, it's not looking that great, right? Because we'll again have to go back to the brush properties, because remember now this is a new brush, right? We can see this. It's come here, okay? And I'm going to again go to the properties. We're going to go to the transfer, okay? We're going to change this to, I'm using the tablet, so I'm going to change it to pen pressure. And also one thing just you'll have to do here is go to the first option, okay? So whenever you create your new brush from scratch, so here you're going to find this option which says spacing. Now it's not 100% compulsory that you change it, but I usually like to make this less. So it kind of is more together, okay? Because remember we created dots, strands are going to be 100% together, right? There's not going to be any sort of gap. It's going to literally flow. So we're basically kind of reducing the space, okay? So let's just see this. You see this? If we increase the space, like even at 10% it was okay. It was showing that it kind of looks like it's flowing. But if I take any risk, so usually I just set it to the lowest, which is 1%. But the main thing again is transfer, that the opacity changes according to how hard or how softly I press. And once you have this, let's sample a color, for example, something like this, and you can see here. So it's going to now draw those strands together. Okay, sometimes it just might take you, of course, you have to be like really subtle about this. Okay, go slowly. And the more randomness you create when you're creating these dots, like kind of give them more spacing and all, the more random this is going to look. Okay, so once you, of course, we should do this on a separate layer, but you get the point. We'll put this behind, and it just again helps you, make those strands together instead of just that one dot. But I know a lot of people who just like to use with the existing sound, the soft brush, and create strand after strand. Some people like to use this. The only thing with this approach, like you can see here, is you might have to take 1 or 2 tries before you get a good looking perfect brush which looks really, really random. And that is going to depend upon how well you space your dots. Okay? But again, this is also one of the ways to do it. Now the final way to do this is probably the easiest way, which is, okay, I've given you this particular image just to try this particular image. And what we can do here is we can actually create a brush from the existing strands on this image. You can use this method that I'm going to show you on any image. You just need to find some image which has a good contrast between the background and the hair. Like for example, this part, can you see the left part of her hair? It's a great contrast because the background is pretty much white and we can see these strands very clearly. That is one requirement when you use this step, but just see how simple this is. So let's say that I want to use this part, okay? And I want to turn this into a brush similar to the brush that we used before actually on this image, okay? Remember where this time these were like you were drawing, but remember before that, a lot of times we just use those existing brushes where you just hit the brush once and it kind of gives you that whole, all the strands together, okay? So this is going to be something similar to that. Now the kind of brush that we downloaded, okay? So it's very easy. What you have to do is, once you identify the area that you want to use from this image, let's just crop that, okay? So let's say I want to use this. This should be my brush, okay? Something like this. And once you identify your area, just hit enter. It's going to crop this, okay? Now all you need to do to turn this into a brush is to turn any area which is solid into black and the other area into white, which is already the case. So we mainly just need to turn this slightly darker so that it kind of recognizes when you stamp this using the brush, okay? It is going to use this pattern in a much better way when it's completely dark, okay? So how you can do that is, first of all, you just want to turn this black and white. So you can go to your adjustment settings, okay? You can turn this into black and white. That's just going to get rid of any color. And then you can take your levels adjustment, which you used before, which you know that if you drag around these sliders, you can make something darker or brighter. For example, here I want to turn this completely into black, not have this 50% grayish kind of thing. So you can just move this slider till the time most of those strands become black. You can even use the mid-tone slider to make this further black. Usually, you will also be using this slider to make things white like this, but here it's not required because we already had a white background. Okay, and if I start doing it too much, it eats away from the strands. You don't want to do it. That's why it's good to select an image where the contrast was already amazing. Okay? Now something like this. Okay? Once we've got this, you can simply merge these layers. Okay? Though to be frank, even merging is not required. All you have to do is just go to edit, similar to how we created the last brush. Okay? You can go to define brush preset and just give it a name. So we can say hair brush. anything. Okay, so yeah, that's fine. Any number or something that you want to give. Volume, let's say, because this is a lot of hair together. Can you see? It just turns this into the brush. And now if I come here, just see how easy this is. So let's say we sample, let's do this on a new layer. Let's say we sample something like this, rotate the brush a bit. So I'm using the shift and the arrow keys, and just put it something like here, okay? So first let's see if it's working well. Yeah, can you see? It's working well. You can change the color, everything, and you do something like this, and you just put this under the head, and then you can, just hold down Control Command to move this, and you can see, right? You can place this also anywhere and just add a bit of the randomness, and you're doing this completely from a new image. You can even use her own patterns here of her hair and turn that into a brush using this technique. So you can see a lot of ways are available to you, and now you can probably understand why I showed you the first way, which is to simply download an existing brush where someone has done the job for you. That's always, till the time you go more advanced into editing, that's going to be your best bet, because these manual things do require a bit of effort. But finally, we are at the end of this particular edit. This, took a lot of time. We've been editing a lot of portraits. What we are going to do now, in order to have some change, is from the next image, we're also going to be looking at things like how to replace the sky, for example, in landscape images. We'll also be learning how to do that using some different methods of selections which we have not seen till now. So I hope that you like all this and you are excited for what's in store. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.